Well, now that he's finally materialized, we can move forward with this review. Here's your look at Mattel, Master Universe ThunderCats, Tygra, heroic Thunderian scientists. The noble scientist Tygra discovers that Third Eternia is home to many wonders, both good and evil. My hope in the beginning of this review is to keep Tygra long enough away from Silky and the Garden of Delights so we can get the tape measure going and seeing how tall the figure stands. No hypnotic fruits this time around, Tygra. The tape measure is going to tell us that Tygra stands at 6 1/4 inches in height, working out to be a figure that's 16 centimeters tall. No, you're not seeing things. Tygra, in fact, is standing next to a giant Catman standing on his hind legs wearing red armor. Battle Catman, in fact, is one of the figures that we've gotten from the Master Universe and the ThunderCats line so far. Not really attached necessarily to ThunderCats, more so attached to Motu. We've also, of course, had a look at Skell Ra, who also had the alter ego of Mum Ra. That's how I currently have him displayed. Here's what the figure also looks like with slightly smaller Chitara, and of course the leader of the ThunderCats, Lord Lion-O himself. Up, dress him down. The choice is yours. The choice is also yours whether you decide to keep the paper pamphlet or you choose to discard it. I will be going with the latter. I'll be going with that after I point out the fact that on one side, this side here, you can have Tygra dressed down the way he is from the original 80s cartoon. If you, though, prefer to have him with the Motu armor, you basically just leave him the way that he is, other than just adding on the helmet. The mini-comic, though, that comes included with Tygra does, from a second, look like the one we got from Lion-O until you realize that it's not. This one's entitled The Power Sword of Omens. The original one was entitled Third Eternia. If we look, though, through the mini-comic and actually just on the back, advertised as He-Man. We had to wait, in fact, till Wave 2 to get ourselves like He-Man. Tygra and also Panthera joined the team as well for Wave 2. If we flip through the comics, we get a nice image, though, of both Lion-O and Tygra. Lion-O looks like he's had maybe some of that hypo fruit. There's also a really nice image of He-Man. We flip through the comics. I'm not going to kind of tell you this story. I want to leave it for those that want to pick up the figure, don't want the spoilers, want to be able to read this from start to finish. There's also, again, some really nice illustrations. I like the way they've designed here the Sword of Omens, and of course, there's the bolo whip that comes included with Tygra. Put that off to the side. Now I got myself at least 2 of them. And again, whatever other figures we're going to be eventually getting from Mattel, we'll have those mini comics too. So, Tygra, yes, does come with armor. The armor is currently on the figure's body. I don't really know how I feel about the armor in the fact that they went with kind of more of a translucent greenish plastic. The one thing, though, a figure does have is a helmet. The helmet is weird in the sense that it has these tusks down below. It looks less like a cat. It looks more like a woolly mammoth. This helmet just basically fits over top of his existing face. The one thing, though, it does hide, though, is Tygra's face. It looks more like he needs to be welding something. This, I feel, belongs better with Panthera and less with Tygra. But again, it's consistent with the color scheme and the translucency of the armor. I don't generally like the look of the armor, especially considering, though, that Chitara has had that kind of metallic blue armor and Lion-O had the same. When we get to Tygra here, like Tygra's going with kind of more completely different kind of plastic. It almost even really looks like the armor is belonging to a different figure line altogether. I understand this guy has the ability to transform and, basically turn himself invisible. He uses the bolo whip and he turns invisible. Maybe that's kind of what they were trying to do here with the armor, to give him like that sort of invisibility. But then it doesn't do anything else for the rest of his body. I think it fails, at least with the coloring. I just would have really stuck with that purplish blue metallic coloring for the plastic they've already done. But, you know, c'est la vie. There's some spikes there on the shoulders. You can see that they've sculpted in there a chain as well. And he's also got plates on his legs. It doesn't cover at all anything now down below here. So he hopes, if anything, people are going to be hitting only his thighs. Does anybody really just target thighs on people? I mean, first of all, I hope to think that you're not going to be fighting anybody, that people deliberately are going and whacking at your thighs. But if they do, Tygra's protected the tops of his legs. At least it does have the cat symbol down below here. That's the one appearance it does actually make. It's also there on his regular OG armor as well, or the outfit that he wears as well. Let's take off the mask. And the mask basically just clips here and it clips right over here. Can I just draw your attention, though, to Tygra's face? Somebody said this in another review, that he looks a lot like Tim Curry, and that's all I see now. In fact, it looks like Tim Curry was hired on to the original 80s casting of the theatrical play musical Cats. One thing, though, as a kid, well, I always really wanted to see the movie Cats, or see the theatrical play of Cats. And as an adult, though, as my birthday wish, I got the chance to see the musical Cats. It was everything I'd hoped, and then some. But it does look, though, like Tygra has been like one of the lead singers of the theatrical musical Cats. I can't stop looking at that. The face is pretty good, though, but it does have very much a Tim Curry kind of face to it. The rest of his body does have, underneath all this, if you, again, strip everything off, would have, in realistic approach, it does have a tiger body underneath, but it does involve you having to take a lot of this armor off in order to get to that. I gotta say, I don't like the look of the armor, not at least enough to keep it on the figure. I'm gonna just only be taking off anyways. When you do take it off, though, the options are available that the figure does have swappable boots. So you basically would just take off the furry, well, I'll show you guys in a second, and then you'll have to unfortunately have the task of taking off the feet, and those plug onto the bottom like that. The figure does also come included again with his outfit. I guess the top, I guess it's not even so much a tank top because the whole bare shoulder is exposed. It does have a cuff piece that goes over top the other shoulder, and it's made of a very soft plastic. There's again the cat symbol there on the front, some nice painted yellow there on the shoulder as well. And then lastly, the figure does come included with his bolo whip. In the comics and in the cartoon, he would just whip this around his body, and then he just turned invisible. I don't know if that would be the sound of turning invisible. Somebody I'm sure could probably do a better job. Anyways, though, this does fit into his hands. He does have a translucent yellow plastic handle. I don't really know why. I think I would have just preferred if they kept the colors opaque. But again, if you want to attach that onto his hand, you just do it like that. For his armor, it also consists of some bracers there. He's also got his wrists. You can take those easily off. And again, like we're going to probably just do a dismantling mostly of this figure. The legs themselves, these basically would just slide down his legs. This would just attach on the back, so you don't have to worry about really taking everything apart. Speaking of taking things apart, though, for Tygra, one thing I couldn't help but notice, though, is that the body never seems to stay together. This isn't my own doing. This is me getting this out of the packaging, and with the time that I've had with Tygra, I never can keep the torso on him. It always seems like it always comes off way too easily. I don't think it has anything really to do with the armor. I don't think it has anything at all to do with the loincloth, which can also be removable. There's just something, though, about this peg that can't properly peg to the top of his body. For the figure's articulation, I guess we'll kind of run through all of that when we eventually take off his armor. So to take off the armor, what are we going to do? Well, first things first, we're going to take off the head. From the back, then, we're going to detach the back like that, fit it over top of his body, and then we'll just detach his armor like that. So we'll just slide this off completely. Now, to get this piece on there, I find the easiest thing to do, says the guy that struggled with Battle Cat Man, is just take off his hand, take off his arm, and then fit this around his body. Did I have it going the right way? I don't think after all that, I took the wrong arm off. The arm, by the way, though, does also have an elbow pad. We can take that off too. But let's plug this back properly in place. There we go. We'll take the right arm off, and we'll basically just slide this over top of his body. Now, I don't think, though, says this guy, I don't think there's an easier way to attach this over top of his body. You just fit this over around his torso like that. Then take his arm and pop it back properly in place. And make sure everything in line. Now, always one thing that throws me off when it's reattaching Master Universe figures is that it's not just a peg that plugs in like this. You'll see that the hole actually is on more of an angle. So make sure everything is on there properly. We can take, where's Tygra's head? Right over here. And we'll just attach that back onto the peg. Let's remove the hands now. And we'll just twist, twist, twist. And we'll remove the bracers. We don't need those. Actually, while we're also at it, do we want to take off the elbow pads? Some say yes. Others have said no. I lean more to the idea of taking them off. I don't really like them being on there. So I'm going to take it off on one side. Take it off. Take it off. Stop it, you perverts. And we'll do it on this side as well. So we'll wiggle, again, the hand off. Take that off. The one downside of doing what I'm doing right now is that I have now all these extra parts. What am I going to do with all these extra parts? Well, I guess if you customize your He-Man figures, you could probably use the elbow pads. Elbor. That's terrible. And I'm sure you could probably use the bracers for something else. Just attach that back in place. And now we have, short of just having the arm properly attached, we have ourselves at least a fully designed, fully attached Tygra. There we go. As for the lower legs, what we're going to do is we'll take the loincloth off. We don't need that anymore. I guess also it probably makes things easier too. We'll take off the boots. Take off the boots. And we'll slide these. These are the easiest things to slide off. They're super loose. Thin, soft, malleable plastic. And we'll slide it off the other side as well. Here comes the hardest part, as I seem to have struggled with everything else. It's getting these blasted boots on. I made mention of this when we also did this with Lino. I'm sure we're also going to be doing this with Panthro. Chitara was the hardest one just because the peg was so small. These ones aren't as difficult, but you will have to put a fair bit of pressure to make sure they're all the way on there. We're going to detach the feet. And when you detach the feet, don't feel the need to pull them down. You kind of have to pull them like he's unslippering slippers. Unslippering slippers. Just detach them like that. Take then your feet. Make sure, of course, you got the right side going here. And you'll slide them. So when you slide them in, you don't pop them down this way. You'll pop them forward. Again, like he's putting on slippers. The plastic at least is forgiving enough. If this was more brittle plastic, I would be treading cautiously. But because it's more kind of a rubbery plastic, you're not going to have as you won't have as much of a tough time doing this. I think we're good. I think we're good. There we go. Let's take the rest of Tygra and attach them back in place. There we go. I knew the arm was still going to give me a problem, so I'm going to just attach that properly as best as I can. I'll have to fix up everything before we jump to the turntable. Is it on there? I hope it's on there. And then we have Tygra. Everything's back together the way that I would have said the way that we left it, but we didn't leave it that way. The figure looks okay. I don't think there's anything at all I would have changed. For all the effort of keeping the torso on the bottom of his body, it seems to stay a little more securely, although unfortunately it leaves this very cut line, obviously, where the top of the torso isn't the same as the bottom, but there's no real way around that. In order to do what he's doing right now, he has to have a cut right there. Tygra does look good again, like we get ourselves the bolo whip. Where's the bolo whip? Bolo whip I just dropped onto the floor. And he does also have a grip hand on both sides. So if you want to have the whip on this side, you can do that. You can also flip it around and have it on the other side as well. The one thing I would only point out, though, when it comes to paint problems, is the fact, at least on mine, I've got a few little smudges of the yellow here. My guess is it's probably carried over from painting the neck, and unfortunately a little bit of that found its way on the front of his body. That's just on mine. I can't imagine it's probably going to be on everybody's. Let's just get his feet. The foot was properly in there, but I just want to make sure that the ankle pivot is still going to work for me. Speaking of the figure's articulation, Tygra's head's going to be on a ball joint. So like with all the others, the head rotates all the way around. It looks up, looks down, back and forth as well. Waist swivels that way too. Now the arms do rotate all the way around. You can also hinge them out as well. And there's a bend right here in the elbow, like you didn't already see that. Bends the elbow at only just a single hinge. Hands rotate all the way around. Forearm also rotates all the way around. The legs do split out. There's ball joints there working behind the scenes. Legs go forward, legs go back. Want to just make sure, though, that we've twisted the knee around so it's facing the right way. We'll also make sure, too, that this is facing the right way, that we get the ankle bent. The ankles, I've noticed, though, with these figures are extremely tight. So not only do you have the worry of popping the feet in properly, but then when you do that, though, that these also bend. When you bend them, just to loosen them up just a little bit, you'll find sometimes, though, the feet pop back off. Again, you just pop them back in place. Pegals on the bottoms of the feet. It does have the knee bend. Again, the lower rotation. Lower rotation down below here because, again, we had to swap this out. Ankle does move back and forth this way, and you can, again, rock it back and forth as well. Tygra certainly does look the part. Consistent is what I've noticed here with all the ThunderCats figures, in fact. If you can overlook just one other thing I would say about Tygra is he has a really large head. Bringing back in Lord Lino here. And also bringing back in Chitara. Do we really need to bring back in Battle Cat Man? Sure, even though he's really not. Would he be part of the team? I don't know. Maybe in your story he can be. And then lurking in the background, looming, waiting for the downfall of the ThunderCats is Mum-Ra, the ever-living. We are also going to be looking at, tipping my hat too early, I'm sure, we're also going to be looking at Panthro in an upcoming review. Panthro does seem to be using a much bigger body. Looking forward to also looking at him as well. Tygra, I think, looks great. I don't think there's anything at all I really would have changed the figure. I mean, speaking, though, of changing, the one thing I would have changed, and I did do in the review, is taking off this blasted armor. I don't think really the armor works at all with Tygra. I get the only real reason probably that they went with more of the translucent yellow or teal plastic color that they went with here was kind of, again, to evoke the idea that it's translucent. It's becoming invisible, like Tygra himself. But I think just with the fact that Chitara and Lino both have armors that are similar enough to one another, Tygra then, his armor stands out like a sore thumb. I don't have any desire to have this on the figures. In fact, I just really want to have them look like ThunderCats on the shelves. And if you do what I did in this review, as long as it may have taken me to do it, I think what you do get is pretty believable enough ThunderCats that are posable, fairly inexpensive. I mean, if you compare it with what we got with Super 7 and their ThunderCats lines, these are more affordable, I say more available, says the Canadian collector I have next to an impossible time to find these. I actually had to order them online. But if you can find them in the stores, fairly inexpensive, readily available, and at least at the price. If you're already collecting Master Universe figures, they fit well, obviously, in scale, because they're using very similar bodies. By the way the Tygra's wrapping his whip around his body, I would think that this Meowgician is about to do his disappearing act. Don't throw anything at me for calling this guy a Meowgician. I know that was just terrible. One thing that hasn't, though, been terrible is getting these figures out of their packaging. They've just been okay, but they can certainly get better than just okay when you eventually take off all their armor. I mean, I'm sure there are probably collectors of the ThunderCats line that enjoy having the armor on them. You might be a little bit more disappointed that with Tygra, Mattel chose to give them translucent teal plastic for his. So while Cheetara and Lino have somewhat stayed the same with their armor, Tygra's looks considerably different, almost to the point where I feel like the armor looks like it's from a completely different toy line. But again, with a little bit of popping off the arms here and there, I mean, just removing the armor, removing the torso, I should say, which is probably the easiest thing, never stayed properly onto his body until I eventually changed back into his Tygra outfit. Then the waist seemed to be a harder thing to keep properly attached. But like when you revert everything back to the way he looked from the classic cartoon, he very much does look more like Tygra. He does also have quite a bearing resemblance to Tim Curry, the actor, like he's about to step on to do a solo in an 80s musical of the Cats. I don't know why I had such a fascination of loving Cats, the musical, as a kid. Oh, I know why. There was an episode of Reading Rainbow where LeVar Burton stopped by the cast of the Cats musical, and he actually got the chance to sit down with the actress that was putting on the makeup to play Grisabella, the glamour cat. She was the one that sings Memories. Does anybody really remember Musical of Cats? Does anybody really even care? I know I cared because one of my birthday things I really wanted to do was check out a musical of the 80s Cats. I mean, obviously it was a lot more than just the 80s, probably about 10 years ago. And I will say it didn't live quite up to the hype of what I was expecting. It was a little bit smaller of a venue. We sat in wooden chairs. It was a smaller, downsized version of the musical, but at least I could say I got the chance to check out Cats. For his accessories, though, if you want to just get rid of the armor altogether, I mean, now I've just got a big bag of armor that doesn't really belong to anybody. With at least, though, using a Master Universe body for the most part, you could then, in theory, use this armor for another figure if you just overlook the fact that clearly there's a cat symbol down below at the base of the armor. But again, what do you guys think of Tygra? Do you think it also looks a lot like Tim Curry? Maybe yes, no, maybe so. Let me know down below. If you guys have also been collecting any of the Master Universe and ThunderCats line, let me know too. Are you one that likes to display your figures, your cats, with the armor on, or you prefer just to have them displayed the way that I have them right now? If you guys did enjoy this video, do it a solid and throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Let me know also down below what's your favorite song from the musical of the Cats. I like Jellicle Cats myself, but maybe I might be the only one that does. If you don't even care about Cats, you can let me know down below. I would like to think at least, if you don't like the musical, you at least like Cats. Everybody's got to love Cats, right? Speaking of Cats, though, while we are wrapping up things right now with a wrapped-up Tygra, we're also going to be looking at Panthro. Panthro is going to be coming up this week as well for reviews, so I hope you guys are going to be coming back. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.